I never thought I'd be the one to dredge up the past. No one ever told me the ocean keeps secrets like that. But I guess I learned the hard way. And I was out early that morning, just me and the boat, with the fog so thick it felt like I was floating through a ghost. I don't trust fog. It hides things. I always felt it was watching me, judging me for being out there so alone. But it's better than being stuck in that town where everyone knows your business and keeps their own dirt buried deep. I was setting the nets when I noticed it. Something heavy, pulling at the line. It wasn't fish. Fish don't pull like that. I leaned over, arms burning from the strain, and there it was. A net, old and thick with algae, torn in places, but the weight. It wasn't fish. It was bones. At first I thought they were animal bones, but no, not with that many teeth staring back at me. Human bones. I dropped the net, my hands shaking like they never had before, and just stared. They were yellowed, brittle in places, but the skull, it had a crack right down the middle, like it had been bashed in. My stomach turned. I could taste the bile in my throat. I should have turned back. Any normal guy would have rode the hell out of there. But I wasn't normal. I was stuck, trapped by that town's whispers and their fake smiles. All those years of not fitting in, being the outsider. Maybe this was my way in, my shot at being someone, the guy who solved the mystery. So I pulled the net aboard, bones and all, and set my course for the shore. When I got back, I didn't head for the cops. Nah, I went straight to Big Mike. He ran the bar and he knew everyone's dirt. If anyone knew what these bones were about, it was him. Mike wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but he was big, hence the name, and people feared him. Not me, though. I knew Mike since we were kids, back when he used to pick on me for being scrawny. Funny how things flip when you get taller than the jocks that used to laugh at you. He was wiping down the bar when I dropped the net in front of him. "You know anything about this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. His face went pale, like he'd seen a ghost, but he played it cool, giving that dumb laugh he always used when he was scared. "What? You bring me some Halloween decorations, Eddie?" "Nah, Mike, this ain't no joke. These are human bones. You know anything about that?" He didn't answer right away, just stared at the net, then up at me, then back at the net. Finally, he muttered, "You should have left that where you found it, man. Some things aren't meant to come up." His voice dropped, and I felt a chill crawl down my spine. Turns out Mike wasn't just a dumb jock. He knew exactly what those bones were, and so did half the town. 30 years ago, a girl went missing. Amy Calhoun. Pretty, sweet, the kind of girl everyone liked. People said she ran away, got tired of the small town life, but the truth was darker than that. Mike let it slip that night, after a few drinks, about how she wasn't missing. She was murdered. They just covered it up. The town big shots, sheriff, mayor, even Mike's old man, they all knew. They dumped her in the water, tied her up in that net, and pretended it never happened. The secret sat there, rotting under the waves, until I pulled it back up. I thought I was in control, thought I could expose them, but that's where I was wrong. They were waiting for me when I went back out to the boat. The sheriff, some guys I didn't know, and Mike. "You should have listened, Eddie," he said, voice low, eyes hard. He was never smart, but now I saw him for what he really was, scared, like he'd been since that night. Turns out, he was there. He was part of it. He helped bury the past. I didn't make it far before they grabbed me, hauled me down to the water's edge. They didn't say much. There wasn't much to say. I was the loose end, the guy who dug too deep. And now, I was going to be part of the same forgotten net, another story that no one in town would talk about. But here's the twist. As they threw me overboard, I saw something in the water. Something watching from below, something dark and old pulling me down. Maybe it was just the ocean, or maybe it was Amy. All I know is I didn't drown. Man! When they pulled the net up the next day, there was nothing inside but bones. Story 2. The Bering Sea doesn't care about you. It'll chew you up, spit you out, and if you come back, it'll do it again. That's what my old man used to say, and after what happened out there, I finally believe him. We were miles out, no other boats in sight. Just me, my brother Ray, and two guys we hired for muscle, Duke and Jimmy, strong as bulls but dumb as rocks. It was supposed to be a routine crabbing trip, but the sea had other plans. The day was unsettlingly calm. Clear skies, smooth waters, too smooth. Something felt wrong. I told Ray, but he just laughed. Told me I was paranoid. I tried to shake it off, but a knot sat in my gut, tightening as the hours passed. We pulled up the first trap. Empty, but not just empty. Opened. Like someone had popped the latch and let the crabs walk free. Duke joked about a rival crew playing tricks on us, but none of us laughed. It didn't make sense. We were the only boat for miles. We reset the trap and moved on. The next trap was worse. Scratches, deep, deliberate gouges in the metal frame. Jimmy said it could have been sea lions, but I'd seen sea lions mess with traps before. They leave a mess. This wasn't a mess. It was intentional. As the days passed, things got stranger. Every trap we pulled up had something off. Dents, broken locks, more scratches. By then, I was sure it wasn't animals. It felt personal, like someone or something was messing with us. Ray stayed quiet, but I could see the tension in his hands as he pulled in the lines. He knew something was wrong, too. Then came the night that everything changed. I was on deck, alone, keeping watch. The water was unnaturally still, the kind of stillness that makes your skin crawl. That's when I saw it. Something in the water. A shadow. Long and low, moving just beneath the surface. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. It didn't look like a whale or a shark. It was too smooth, too deliberate. I called out for Ray, but by the time he got up, it was gone. He didn't believe me, said I was seeing things, but I wasn't. I know what I saw. The next day, things got worse. One of our traps was sitting on deck, just there, like someone had placed it. No one had pulled it up, and it was missing its buoy. Duke thought it was funny, but I saw Ray's face go pale. He wasn't laughing anymore. We decided to head back, cut the trip short, but the boat wouldn't move. The engine was fine, the lines were clear, everything was in working order, but we stayed dead in the water. Ray dove down to check the propeller. He wasn't down there long before he shot back up, eyes wide and terrified. He said something had brushed against him, something big. We were done. We sent out a distress call, but no one answered. 2 days went by. No rescue, no response. The sea stayed calm, too calm. It felt like it was waiting for something. That night Duke went overboard. No scream, no splash. Just gone. 1 second he was there. The next he wasn't. We searched for him, called out his name, but the sea swallowed our voices. Jimmy started panicking, saying we'd angered the sea gods or some other nonsense. Ray tried to calm him down, but I could see the fear in his eyes. He was losing it, just like the rest of us. On the third day, we spotted a boat in the distance, a crabber just like ours, drifting. We got closer, but there was no one aboard. It looked abandoned, rusted, like it had been out there for years. Ray wanted to jump aboard and check it out, but as soon as we got close, the boat started sinking. No reason, no warning. Just down it went, as if the sea decided it was time. That's when I knew we had to leave. Whatever was happening, we needed to get out. Ray didn't agree. He said we owed it to the sea to finish the job, that we couldn't leave until the traps were pulled. That's when I realized Ray wasn't himself. The calmness, the certainty, it wasn't natural. He wasn't just afraid of the sea. He was connected to it somehow. Jimmy and I made a plan. We'd take the dinghy and head for shore while Ray slept. But as we were lowering the boat, Ray appeared, wild-eyed and screaming that we couldn't leave. He lunged at us, and I had no choice. I hit him with the oar, knocking him unconscious. We rowed like our lives depended on it. But halfway to shore, the sea started to churn beneath us. The water boiled, and something massive rose up from the depths. its shadow looming beneath our tiny boat. It wasn't a whale or a shark or anything I'd ever seen before. It was the sea itself, alive, angry. We never made it back. The Coast Guard found our boat days later, drifting just like that ghost ship we'd seen. No sign of Ray or Jimmy. They said the boat had been abandoned for decades, a relic from a storm that had claimed the crew back in '85. They called it a ghost ship, but I was there. I know what I saw, and sometimes when the sea is too calm, I still hear Ray's voice calling me back. Story 3. It started with a stupid idea. Like always, 4 of us, me, Jason, Kyle, and Jake, decided to go fishing. It wasn't even about fishing, really, just an excuse to get away. Jason had been fired last week for mouthing off to his boss. Kyle got dumped for the 4th time this year. And Jake? He's the kind of dumb jock who thinks drinking 6 beers by noon makes him cool. Me? I was just bored, sick of the same city streets, the noise, the people. Needed space to think, away from all the mess. We rented a boat from this beat-up marina. The guy who owned it, Big Joe, had this weird look in his eye, but who cares? We weren't about to ask questions. We just wanted a boat and some time to ourselves, right? And man, the guy was giving it away practically. Kyle cracked a joke about how cheap it was, like Joe was desperate. None of us thought twice about it. We should have. About an hour in, the boat started acting weird. Slow, like the engine was struggling. Jake, being Jake, blamed it on the beer. Jason was already on his 3rd joint, laughing it off, but I couldn't shake this feeling. Something was off. The water wasn't even that deep, but we were sinking. Slowly, like the boat had a death wish. I told the guys, but Kyle just laughed and said, "It's shallow. What's gonna happen? We'll just walk back if we sink." That's when we felt it, a thud underneath, like something hit us. But there was nothing around, just water, and then another thud and another. I checked over the side, and that's when I saw it, a chain, dozens of chains, all tangled up in the water, hooking onto something. No way they were natural. No way we just drifted into them. That's when Jason, half out of his mind, said, "This ain't random, man. Someone did this." Kyle, still laughing, goes, "What? Like Big Joe wants revenge for the fish we didn't catch?" But I knew it wasn't a joke. I could feel it in my bones. That marina owner, Joe, there was something off about him. He didn't just rent us the boat. He was setting us up. I started freaking out, trying to pull the chains off, but they were too heavy, too deep. Jake, the idiot, thought diving in would help. He said he'd swim down, untangle them. I told him not to, but he didn't listen. I watched him dive in. Seconds passed, then a minute. He wasn't coming back up. The water looked still, peaceful, but it wasn't. It was swallowing him, keeping him. Jason freaked out, started blaming me for bringing it up, for jinxing the trip. Kyle, for once in his life, shut up. He just sat there, staring at the water like he knew we were screwed. Hours passed, and the boat was lower now, taking on more water. I couldn't stop thinking about Joe. The way he smiled when we left. It wasn't normal. He wasn't just some disgruntled marina owner. He was setting a trap, probably for all the idiots like us who'd come out here thinking they could just rent a boat and have fun. And now we were sinking, slower and slower, into whatever mess he set up. Finally, when the boat was nearly submerged, Kyle, of all people, started crying. Jason tried to calm him down, but nothing worked. I sat there, staring at the shore, so close, so damn close. But something was stopping us. Those chains weren't just pulling us down. They were keeping us here, waiting for something, like we were part of some bigger plan. And then it hit me. Joe didn't want revenge on illegal fishermen. He wanted to trap anyone dumb enough to take his bait. The boat wasn't the prize, we were. That's when Jake's body floated up, limp, pale, and wrapped in the chains. The look in his dead eyes. It wasn't just fear, it was understanding. He knew, just like I did. We weren't sinking by accident. We were drowning in someone else's revenge.